shooting videos for the Premier League.
Okay. Is that for your agent or is it your culture?
I know somebody who handles Premier League in social media for Asia. So he wanted a couple of fan video shot in Kerala. So I like, you want to light on my face? Should I see this? There is a Premier League India page on Twitter or Instagram. Yeah, Premier League.
I know about something. It's one of the companies right. If you go into the centre, it's like 2 hours, you go one foot and it's nothing about it.
For me, it's usually the sleep pattern getting ruined that really triggers my mind. So the last week, surprisingly, I don't know myself. So when sunlight
Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. A warm welcome to this is Sportscast, again live here on YouTube. And if you're listening on the podcast, check us out on YouTube as well, where we do the live streams now. And it's what a way to start another week. And there's a warm welcome to the man himself, Nevin Thomas. Good afternoon to you, my friend. How are you?
Good morning. All's good. It's been a very hectic week with a lot of football as usual and a lot of work as well. But I'm sure as a Leicester City fan, this is probably like a high you're going through right now.
Yes, it's surprising how well, you should know me by now, but it's surprising how much football makes or breaks your mood for either the weekend or the coming week. And yesterday's performance was superb. I don't know if you caught the game, but I
couldn't actually. I only saw the highlights, but I'm hearing that Leicester probably deserved the goal more. Like I thought the Madison goal was fair, and the highlights.
Yeah, I don't know which highlights you saw, but here in England we saw the BBC highlights and they didn't do justice to the live game. We totally outplayed Tottenham at their own stadium, even though it's empty, it's still their own home ground. And Mourinho's counter-attacking tactics didn't work because Brendan Rodgers used to be a student of his. They used to work together at Chelsea when Mourinho was manager there, as you know. And yesterday I think the pupil did one over the master yesterday, so it was a brilliant all-round performance. But it just sums up Leicester. I mean, it was very frustrating. It's funny, you should never start off by asking me about Leicester, because you know I'll go off on one. It was frustrating on Wednesday, during the weekday when we lost to Everton at home. Vardy had that pretty much an open goal for him that would have changed the game, but it was more of a frustrating day. But it was Leicester. We knew that this team can go to Tottenham and get a result, and they did. But the way, I think it was the manner of the victory. Tottenham had probably one chance, and that was from Song in the second half. Like you said, Madison's goal.
Do you see this as a pattern in some sense, in that Leicester tends to perform well against sides that they're expected to not really perform well against? There seems to be an extra motivation when they play like big sides.
I think because the big sides, unlike Mourinho, I think he's the exception that won't park the bus regardless of where he plays and who he plays. It is a bit more expansive, so that gives our attacking players, because we've got a lot of pace up front, a bit of free
Freedom.
movement and space, so it helps our game. Whereas if we've got to break a defence down, I mean, to be fair, it's with all teams. If somebody comes and plays 6 or 7 at the back, it's going to be difficult unless you have an incredible playmaker like a Messi or somebody like that who can open up defences. But I think I'll be honest with you, I think the fans make a difference at the King Power. Like at any stadium, I suppose, that's stating the obvious. But if you're goal down and you've got the fans behind you, it can bring you'll be surprised how many times you can get an equaliser. And we saw that the other week with a couple of thousand going in at some stadiums, making the difference even with a couple of thousand. So yeah, it's a good time. Well, it's been a good time to be a Leicester fan for the past few years, but the team's really coming together because we've got Castagna back, Pereira's on his way back, Soyuncu's on his way back, and second at Christmas is not a bad thing. We always look for who's going to be number one in the charts, music charts, but we also look at who's going to be number one, and it's the obvious candidates. Liverpool, what a win over the weekend. I didn't see that coming, I'll be honest with you. Palace are quite a resilient team. But that also then leads me to ask you about your boys. A couple of disappointing results. I know they're playing tonight. It's not going to be easy against West Ham.
Absolutely not.
What's happening with Frank and Chelsea, in your opinion? I mean, inconsistent there.
I think personally, I've not been a big fan of Lampard. I've always thought it's a little too early for him to be managing a big side like Chelsea. But that seems to be the trend, right? You saw Mikel Arteta, you saw Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, all of them being given teams that, at least on paper, they don't deserve to be managing, but there is something else that obviously the team owners see. I feel Lampard is trying to not save his job, but like he's putting results first, which is not necessarily a bad thing. But say starting somebody like Giroud, for example, he's in form, he's a good striker. I really like him a lot. But then you're moving away from the ideology you set in the summer. It was clear that they were transitioning into a more fluidic attack, the likes of Werner and Havertz and Pulisic, Ziyech. This is your future. So even at the risk of losing a couple of matches, you should be trying out a system that suits them. Now you bring in a big guy like Giroud and start putting in a lot of crosses. You're really taking out a lot of these players from the game. What do a Havertz do when this is how the ball is being played? Or even Werner, for example, he's got blistering pace to burn. But unfortunately, ball is being played to his leg, and whatever pace is shown is literally him running with the ball and not really running onto the ball. So, in terms of strategy-wise, I wouldn't have mind Chelsea losing 3-4 matches in the early part of the season just to get things straight. Just to get the likes of Werner and Havertz and Ziyech playing the game that they're expected to play. I think Ziyech and Giroud is still an okay combination because he's really good with his crosses and Giroud is a good target man. But Giroud should have always been plan B. Like, okay, you're not winning a match, then you give him good 30-40 minutes to make a difference. You can't be, like, again, I love Giroud. I think he's one of the best players to have in the team in terms of his experience, his nature. He seems to be a very nice guy. But this is not what Chelsea should be doing at this moment. And unfortunately, English media just refuses to attack Lampard or question him. Everybody just loves him. Solskjaer is above him on the table, but still it's Ole out and Lampard safe. So it's a little bizarre for somebody sitting in India to make sense of this.
Well, you can see why there is a lot of love for Frank. For a start, he's a very, very nice person, comes across really well. He's a young manager, English manager, which is not common in the Premier League, so he's going to get a bit of leeway. But he did take a bit of criticism last week. I think it was against Wolves, or maybe you can correct me, where they, like you just mentioned, actually, a lot of long balls hoofed into the box, which is completely contrary to the players he's got. And like I said, tonight it's not going to be an easy game. I mean, I'm looking at the table now, you're 8th, but you're only a couple of wins from being in the second or third, so it's not far away. But the past few results doesn't give much confidence, and he needs it.
And a team like West Ham, I don't think you should be playing crosses. They'll
Oh,
feed on it.
yeah, all day long, Yeah. So a big game tonight for you. It's going to be a late finish for you, but being a night person, I'm sure that's not going to be an issue. But yeah, we're at different spectrums of mood maybe when it comes to the our English teams. That I'm very happy with the way Leicester are playing at the moment and where we are, and especially after the result yesterday. But moving on to just the
Do we have to? Do we have to?
Well,
It's a depressing topic.
I don't know. It might be, but I just wanted to start off by saying that Robbie Fowler is giving me a lot of content at the moment, and he's giving me ideas as to take your views on this. And I got a bit of a glimpse of it when we spoke about him last week. But his comment about the team being prepared for the I-League. It's an I-League team playing in the ISL. That really took me back. I mean, he's not a new manager in the sense that, how to handle the media, what to say in the media. Maybe he thinks India's different. I don't know. He's new to India, so he can probably get away with saying some things he wouldn't in the A-League or here in England. But that was a very strange comment to make, that team was being prepared for the I-League.
I know we said this last week as well. He came with he's arrogant. Let me just be blunt, just like Robbie Fowler himself. He's arrogant. He came to India thinking that it's going to be a cakewalk, and he's figuring out that hey, ISL isn't very easy, and he couldn't just wave his white privilege, get some players, throw put some long balls and start winning matches. So clearly, I have a problem with him. But we did discuss this when the signing was announced, if you remember. We did say that Robbie Fowler seemed like a signing for the name of it rather than looking at a long-term project and a good coach. And it's proving to be the case. He just it's a name, and he's already lost interest. He doesn't seem to be interested in this job at all. Like he had a good lead. I mean, 1-0 lead against Kerala Blasters, a good chance to secure 3 points. Did he do anything as a coach to preserve it? No, he just let the team play. Or did he do anything to get more? I mean, Kerala Blasters is like the leakiest defense of the ISL this season, I guess. So why didn't he go all out attack? And he can't just keep blaming, oh, this is the players I have, that is what I have, this is what. He signed up for it. He knew what the team was. Did he do a bit of research? Like, did he know about I-League? What are all these certain realizations that this team is not really meant for the ISL? You shouldn't have come. It's as simple as that. Just because of money being offered, for any standard team, you have to make a pitch. It's like a CV. There's an interview. There's a long discussion. So,
and we went through this process with Ron when he was selecting a new manager for Odisha. He gave us a good insight into the process.
Yeah, absolutely. So similarly, I'm sure most teams do it. I know East Bengal was a little rushed, but still, I'm sure they had applications from across the world. Would have been probably better off as a coach for a young team or for an old team that is looking to salvage the season. There are multiple ways of looking at it, and there is enough experience to get some results. Let's not be too brutal on these players. So somebody like Rafiq, for example, is playing well. I mean, he's been around the circuit for long enough. They know how to use their body. They know how to eke out wins against Indian oppositions, and they know the referees. That's a big advantage. So Wisdom has also got some power, right? Look at all these big Juventus side, had like a lot of players in their late 30s still playing and winning leagues for them. So it's not. I mean, let's not even go to what Robbie Fowler is indicating. I think he's a bad coach, and I'm going to stick with that.
Do you think? We know he's going to go back to the A-League and complete the season there, and it's just looking very bad on him because obviously India is a growing footballing nation and a lot of potential, and he's creating a bad image of himself. I don't know what the media is like in India. Obviously, East Bengal's got a huge fan following. Do you see any rumblings there in terms of the fans turning against Robbie?
I'm surprised. I'll tell you what. Like again, I'm putting my neck on the line here, but I don't think a lot of Indian, especially Indian football journalists, really, say things that can hurt teams, or they play it safe. Most of us journalists are just like positives for East Bengal. That's probably how the reports would be panning out. Despite seeing there were positives, and we just let it be. We never really take it to Robbie Fowler and Preston his tactics or anything like that. Nothing like that ever. Maybe in local Bengali media,
Mm.
but again, it's probably too soon for that as well. But he will face. Unfortunately, he is in a place where he will be questioned at some point. But generally, we are way nicer than, say, the British media, or I think like Spanish media or anything. So he's been escaping, much to my displeasure. Like, I wish I was still writing, because I would be like on his throat. I'd not been impressed at all. And he can't just come with, I mean, and I keep saying this again and again, but this is essentially white privilege. He just thought, just because he's played in Liverpool, or played in the Premier League, he could just walk in and expect things to just work his way. No, you have to work hard for it, and it's a process, and you should be there.
Apart from the results, I think his attitude and the way he's spoken in the media, if that is how he,
Exactly. Like, I don't have problems with the results.
yeah.
My problem is his attitude.
Well, I'm thinking more of the sense that if he's like that in front of the media, speaking like, what is he like in the training ground behind the scenes? Because it's normally the other way around. The coaches are quite, backing their players, trying to make excuses for the results, and then when it's the cameras are off, they really show their true side. But if he's like this in front of the media, I hate to think what he's like in front of the behind the scenes. And for a player that's been brought in, and then your manager says, well, we bought most of this squad to play in the I-League, that is not going to be morale boosting or anything like that. So
At all.
I think this could be really bad for East Bengal, in the sense not only putting their image at risk, obviously it's a huge image with an incredible history, but building a team that's going to compete, and it's a big team. Let's not get away from that. It is a big team for the future. It could put them back, because the players will be disheartened, and if they get really a bad season because of Robbie Fowler, it's just going to make the progression in the ISL even harder moving forward, because he can't turn these things around very quickly. And we've seen that with Orisha, it's going to take time. So with somebody like East Bengal coming in, admittedly at the last minute, but still, I think the manager they needed to get somebody, and you said it, like you said, when we talked about it when he was selected. I think East Bengal went for the big name, big media attention, rather than somebody who's going to give them a good grounding in their first season to build on. So we'll see how this pans out, but I'm thankful in one way that he's giving me a couple of talking points. They're not good talking points, because it doesn't reflect well on him, and I do feel for his players, but we'll see how things turn out. Were Kerala lucky to get away with a draw yesterday? You mentioned Robbie could have done something about it and killed the game off, but
I know. I would say Kerala deserved a point.
Yeah, I thought so. Yeah.
But they showed some spirit. They wanted to come back, and it was good to see that from a Kerala Blasters fan point of view as well. There was some sort of drive, because I remember the first half. After the first half, the reaction was, "Oh my God, we even gave East Bengal their first win. It's that embarrassing now." So to finally get that, and Sahal to come in and make a huge difference, Jackson to come in and make a huge difference. So the substitutes did improve the team. So the coach also will be feeling a little nice that, hey, he at least managed to salvage the point. And I think it is a clear sign that a lot of ISL teams should start trusting the Indians now. If the foreigners not performing for you, if they're lazy, if they're not, just don't put them because they paid money for it. Put them on the bench. At least you are developing an Indian player in the process. I thought the same for Odisha as well. A couple of the foreign players have not been really performing well, and they've got abundant youth in their rank. Ask them to just run their socks or run 12 kilometers a match. Just work. And I'm sure a lot of people are willing to put that effort. And I thought Sahal showed a lot of drive. He wanted to make an impact, and that really boosted the team as well. And for young Jackson, who also scored in the Under-17 World Cup with a header to score
in the World
a
Cup.
big goal for an ISL side is also quite big.
And what is the mood in Kerala? A huge fan following. They win every single poll that's going anywhere in the world. What is the mood there?
Still upset, I guess. I remember one of those WhatsApp groups I'm a part of. A lot of people saying that they're not buying merchandise if they're not scoring any more points. And a lot of, I'm sure they'll still do it because that's how fans are. But a lot of murmuring saying yet another year, yet another a lot of hype in the summer and not really delivering. But let's be honest, they did lose the likes of Avdiche, Sandesh Jingre, and all. It's not easy for a team to recover from that, especially in a COVID hit season like this. So Kerala Blasters could in some sense win the next 3-4 matches and suddenly
Really?
Yeah, I mean, no, I'm not saying they will, but in the off chance that they do, suddenly people will be like, oh, it was not a bad season at all because it's a small season, right? It's not a lot of matches, so
Well,
you win 5-6 and then you eke out a few draws and at least a solid mid-table finish.
because I'm looking at the table and I want to talk about merchandise in a minute, but it was going to lead me on to another point. But before I come to that, because I'm looking at the table and you see the big three there already, and then there's a group of teams fighting for the fourth place, and then the likes of Kerala, Odisha, and East Bengal, drifting away. And we said last week, after a quarter of the season, you sort of see how things are going to pan out at the end. And it's panning out a bit more in the sense that the gap is opening up. But if of all the teams, and I'm being biased here, and you said Kerala with a couple of wins can get into the middle, but I think out of the bottom three, the one that I think genuinely might have a chance of breaking out and maybe getting into the middle is Odisha with the young players. And you mentioned that the coach has been tough. He's not playing Marcelino from the start, the main player. He's called him out as well in terms of not being able to produce. I think he had a go at him the other day when he took a corner. So do you think Odisha is the one that could break away, or do you think it could be Kerala as well that could actually join the middle pack?
I think it's going to be a mix of both in terms of a lot of these mid-table teams like say Northeast United might not have this good second half of the season, which will allow these other teams to catch up slowly. It's not like either Odisha or Kerala have shown enough to say they're guaranteed a mid-table finish. No, I think both of us are just hopeful simply because players in their teams and not necessarily because they've shown anything on the field. I've been pretty disappointed with Odisha as well, and I know we have our relation with the club, but it's been unfortunate because I'm sure you as well, we sort of hyped for the season. We thought we would improve, build on from last season, and it's not really happened.
No.
But yeah, definitely in terms of the players, I was hoping Odisha would play like Hyderabad, and Hyderabad is playing pretty well. So the likes of Hyderabad, Northeast United, Jamshedpur, all of them, we didn't really expect them to be starting this well. I mean, I think to be fair, we should give it to Owen Coyle, and now he's sort of proven that he's a good coach now in India.
Yeah.
Another team with far lesser resources as well. But I'm expecting the gap to open up from the top four. The top four or top five would be split, and the others will be more closer. Simply because I remember talking to Chennai CTO for a Kalpant video, and he was saying that by mid-season, by January, they know whether they're going to make it to the playoff or not. And sometimes a lot of teams tend to, the moment they realize that okay, this is not really within them, since there is no relegation, they tend to slow it down. They're like, okay, we can play Indians, we can build for the future. The second half of the season tends to be that, and teams competing for the top four will keep really trying hard. So that is when the gap really opens up. When in January, when some teams realize it's not really worth fighting for, they probably won't sign a good player. They'll probably terminate a contract of a major player to save money and things like that. It's unfortunate. That's why you need relegation, because you want to keep the fight alive till the last day. But this is the reality of the ISL. I'm sure you'll see it as well.
Yeah, and I think we've got maybe a year, possibly 2 years before we see any promotion and relegation. But you talked about the big four. The big three are there. One of the big four is missing, and what's going wrong with FC Goa? Is it a question of losing too many players to Mumbai City? Is it losing the coach and the new coach still adapting? Is it all of those reasons? Because they are struggling. It's not the Goa from last year.
Yeah, they are struggling, and I don't know. I sort of miss the pragmatism in the Goan side. With Lobera, they didn't need the pragmatism because they're so dominant in what they do. But I think this current Goa, you need to be slightly more dogged. I mean, look at Bangalore, for example. They probably are not playing the best football up there, but they are eking out results somehow, by crowding referee, by fouling, by putting their bodies on the line. And so they are still getting the victories, and which is what I think Goa has been lacking. They've been so obsessed with the idea of playing pure football. It's almost like Bielsa. I want to play a football a particular way and not sacrifice on my ideology. Sometimes it really doesn't work out, especially when teams sit back and defend and counterattack it. So Goa needs a plan B. I don't know how it's going to come. They have got a lot of young Indians, so maybe they can mix it up by taking away a couple of foreigners and just letting Indians run the show. They'll probably bring that doggedness with them in that mission to prove a point. So they come with that pressure to prove a point. Now I've been given a chance, let me try to prove a point. It's a mix of all that. But that said, the likes of Mumbai City, the likes of Bangalore, they've not been so good as well. It's not like they've annihilated teams in the ISL. So maybe we are in for a surprise as well. What if 4 or 5 teams can find things in the armor of these big sides and somehow make the league more competitive. So I've not had it's not like in 6-7 matches that just happened. I've not really been able to decide which is the best team of the season, and I think that's a sign that it's kind of competitive in that way.
I slightly disagree on that one, in the sense that Mumbai City came in with a lot of expectation, and when I saw them the other day and I saw their bench, and I thought, wow, this is some team, and they're getting the results now. Like you said, they might be eking out a couple. I know they drew against Jamshedpur at the start of the week, but a comfortable win yesterday against a very good Hyderabad team, 2-0. But they're one team that seems to be fulfilling their expectations, and like you say, ATK Bengaluru keep getting the results. But Mumbai, I think, might be one that is,
it's almost like ATK last season in terms of the expectations and players gelling in. Mumbai made a lot of significant signings this summer, and that's obviously going to take some time to find their space. I'm sure it's going to take time for Lopera to find what formation works best for them. So I mean, yeah, you're right. Like the second half of the season, you would expect Mumbai to perform a little bit better. Just like the likes of Roy Krishna found their footing in the second half of the season last time around. So definitely. I mean, on paper these 4 should be running away with things. But I'm just trying to be a neutral and trying to.
Who's your fourth in that one, by the way?
Optimistic.
Who's your fourth team on that one? You said that this 4 should be running away. Are you including Goa in that?
I do. In terms of what the players they have, especially the Indians in the FC Goa, I'm surprised they're not running away. I'm starting to think that the coach is good enough for this job, or like maybe he gets simply because his CV had fancy teams associated with it. So I mean, he's not really proven to be as good as Gerard Bush, right? So it's I mean, it's still early days, I'm sure, and Goa tend to have a longer strategy, and they're not probably just looking for this season. So sure, he'll find his foot. There's enough in that Goan setup to help him as well. There are good Indians in that side who understands Indian football to advise him as well.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if he does turning around, because that was their unique selling point, wasn't it? The sense that a lot of Indians were playing for Goa and doing so well last year. So we'll see if he can turn it around, because they're not where they usually are. They certainly weren't there last year in my first season, and they've not been there in the past. But the other thing I wanted to talk about was, and this is something that's come across and watching the ISL, at least the highlights every day, is the number of injuries and young players. They are being put through. It's a brutal ask, isn't it? And I'm just thinking, we're seeing these young players. They could, if we're not careful, they could burn out. They could get a big injury. And you mentioned a player that I've read about, JJ, a big injury. Pretty much not ruined his career, because he's come back, but he's not the same player as he was. And I'm saying, do the authorities think that people will lose interest if clubs play once a week, if there's not a game every single day? Because there's time to play once a week. Has that ever been questioned, or?
Yeah, of course. I think we were questioning this, especially during like season 3 and season 4, which is even more corrupt. It was like a 3-month league, at that point. I think the problem with Indian sports has been that everybody's trying to mimic IPL in terms of everything, in terms of how it should be hosted, how media should be handled, we've been just trying to replicate cricket, and unfortunately it's not the same sport in terms of what the body is going through. Cricket, you might still be able to play 3 matches in a week. Football, you can't do it like continuously, and it's unfortunate. And it's also unfortunate because these players are without football for like good 8 months, and then you put them through this trip. So it makes no sense at all. There's no pre-season, there are no other tournaments that keep them, in shape and ready for it. You are absolutely correct in what you said. This could ruin careers. It has ruined a lot of careers. It is not just physical as well, right? It's also mental, kind of talk, like staying away from family, the kind of dedication that is required to put your body through it for these many days. And sometimes players just lose interest. I know a player who's actually been capped by India. I don't want to take a name, but sort of left football at the age of 26, 27, and just went lifestyle fitness route, because he said the whole point of the competition of it, and the nature of how teams handle a lot of players now was too much for him. So whatever you said is absolutely true. We hope that at least it can expand to 6 months, 7 months, so that it's evened out. But ultimately, when the league is owned, 33% of the league is owned by the broadcaster itself. The broadcaster will decide how they want it, and they're just bullying. Every day they need a match, so they put it this way. Why can't we have like 3-4 matches on a Saturday, Sunday? Why can't? I'm sure footballers won't complain about playing under the sun or anything. That's just bizarre, especially in Goa. Who wouldn't want to play like a 2 o'clock kickoff in Goa? Everybody will love a 2 o'clock kickoff in Goa. But this is how it is, and we've been like I said, just been trying to replicate IPL simply because that was a success. But they forget that cricket is a massive sport in the country, and that is the reason why it's a success.
It is, but there's no correlation between the two sports. IPL is T20. Physically, football does take a lot out of you, and these are very intelligent people, FSDL and the broadcasters. Well, I can understand the broadcasters, but I'm just really worried. I see the players.
Probably that is you probably hit the hit the nail in that comment in the intelligent people. That's probably why they're doing something that milks the most money from their product. So unfortunately, intelligence doesn't mean they are emotionally intelligent. It's usually about how much money you can make out of the league.
But this is my point, that they are intelligent people, that they would realise that if you lose a couple of big names, young Indian names, or even a foreigner, then what's going to happen? Maybe a year or 2 years down the line, foreigners will not come to this league because of the nature of the football, in the sense that it could be career threatening, and for Indian footballers, young footballers thinking, that's not a career for me, I could play for 2 years, that's the end of my career. And the quality will go down. I'm already worried about the quality from January onwards. I see the players, they are drained because of the football, you see them. The shirts
So
are completely soaked, and that's why I'm saying they're intelligent people to know. Yeah, you can, milk
and
this as much as you want.
if you look at the kilometers they run in a match, it's usually around 9 kilometers. That's not normal for football.
Hmm.
Especially midfielders should be running like 10 to 11 kilometers. But I think it's just physically too much, and everybody just tired. So they tend to slow down the game. You see, a lot of times they just pass sideways, kill time, just
Yeah,
take some breath,
and
move
that's
on,
quality, and that's going to lose you viewers in the long run. If you're going to see dull games, and let's face it, they're not playing on carpets. The pitch is only going to get worse as it's used heavily every week, every day. This is a bit of an insight for me, first time, watching it on a regular basis, and I think, this is to the detriment. And what really brought it out to me is that the federation has has applied to host the Asia Cup in 2027. And I'm thinking, the two don't correlate. You want the biggest tournament in Asia, footballing tournament, and then you've got this product that could ruin young players who are playing now. Alright, they'll have to be in their 20s. In 7 years' time they'll be at the peak, but some of them won't get there. And I think, with the likes of Brandon and Sahal and all the other young players that we've got, incredible talent we've got, they'll be burned out by 2027. What are your thoughts on us applying for 2027 yet having a league like this? And this is what really annoyed me last week, and I'm thinking,
it's almost like China in terms of they believe that you attract big names in big tournaments and football tournaments, they develop with it. And unfortunately, that's not the case. Even though they'd argue that a lot of products that came out of the under 17 World Cup are performing well. Well, they're performing well simply because you did a good scouting. There was a program to identify footballers, and hence it's not because of World Cup. It's because you invested in scouting and something like that. So you can continue doing that every year. If only you had the same intention. You just wanted to prove a point for the under 17 World Cup, so you did something, and then you let it be. You should be continuing from that, right? That's the whole point. So it almost looks like a PR exercise for me. So our show, we're doing this, and obviously it's a lot of money for a lot of people who can make profits out of having World Cup or having a big tournament in a country like India. So
yeah, I think we'll.
that's how it started out.
I think we'll get it. I'm confident, because when you see Iran have held it twice, Qatar have held it. I know Saudi Arabia hasn't, and I don't think Uzbekistan will get it. But just because it's India and the potential of the advertising and the money the Asian Confederation can make out of a big tournament in India, I think India stands in a very good place. But I'm thinking the Federation really needs to get its act together. And I was thinking that even if you have 14 teams, you could play one game on a Friday night, couple on a Saturday, couple or 3 on a Sunday, and 1 on a Monday. 1 game a week. Look after the players, look after your product. Otherwise, by 2027 we're not going to have either. Which is a frightening thing. I know you've seen it for a long time. Well, I say a long time in your young.
I've sort of become numb to it.
Yeah,
I sort of stopped expecting anything to happen. And a reserve league, for example, there's a lot of good, exciting players not getting game time as well. With a lot of foreigner coaches coming in, they don't care about it. They're also short term. They're also there for results, so they don't care about developing. I know Kerala Blasters are playing like a reserve sort of a league. Whenever they play against an opposition, they play a reserve match the next day as well. So that's nice if you want, but like you want a proper league. Farooq Chowdhury, for example, he was a big for the player to perform. He's hardly getting game time in Mumbai, and that's the problem, right? Like you can't keep losing all these Indians one season. He had a phenomenal season. He probably like the best player of ISL 1920, and he's not getting game time in Mumbai. And I'm really tired of seeing this again and again. You see one season and then it's like an 8-month gap, and players can't replicate the same form. They probably move to a different coach, and a new coach joins their team. They have a different vision. We've been ruining players forever, Bharat. So it's not a. I wouldn't blame that on 27 Asian tournaments. I think it's more to do with our own, the way we've structured the league, the way the people who are behind it. And even if you look at something like a Shillong Lechong, for example, who's like a lot of these young players come from ground, and you literally ruined it. You ensured the system doesn't help, promote a club like Chennai. I-League is in a big mess. Um, and you see younger players all being signed up by the AF Academy under the Indian Arrows project or the Reliance project. So all these smaller feeder clubs are now struggling to attract players because Reliance owns the big league and Reliance has its own academy. So every young player wants to go there because that's like an easy shot to, get into a big team, and nobody wants to, fight it out for a Long John or a Naroka or a smaller team like, Tamil Punjab or whatever. So if you dig deep, this is a mess. It's a big mess, and it's a mess created by a few people who are looking fast profit. But unfortunately, I think we've seen across the world this doesn't work. You've always seen that football is a sport you can't really, jump in and corporatize and eke out big results, and it doesn't work that way. It's a sport. So hopefully they'll learn a lesson, and hopefully, something will come out of it positive. But
Well,
right now it's just finger crossing. There's nothing else to expect.
well, it starts with Mr. Patel, and he should say we're going to take over the league. We're going to run it ourselves. We're going to do the broadcasting. Get some intelligent people at the federation to organise it, because we've got abundance of intelligent people in our country. So yeah, it starts with him to take the big
Try
step.
saying no to Reliance in India. I don't think that's a possibility at all.
Well,
No saying
it's
Reliance.
don't get the more I talk about Indian football, the more frustrated Indian football. I'm not going to blame the football federation. I've got a beef against. That's the wrong word. I shouldn't have used that word. I've got issues with. It's a common word in England, so excuse me for using that. I've got problems with the hockey federation. I've got the problems with the cricket federation. And I'm thinking this has been going on for years, but it is what it is,
Oh,
and
these
it's
are the better run federations.
oh,
You don't want to say wrestling and basketball.
It-
It's a big mess.
it is, and I do give a lot of plaudits to the sportsmen and women, because it's despite their federations that they're bringing laurels to India. It's not because of the federation. But enough of my rant, because I don't know, for whatever reason, last week when I saw I was going for Asia 27, and I saw the players, and I saw how they were struggling, and I saw the injuries to the young players, and you told me about JJ, and I think, yeah, it is what it is. But we've got to call it out for what it is, even in a little way. And I know there's a lot of people that agree with us as well. But that's enough of ISL and the talking points from the last week. It's getting interesting. They're going to have a break on. I think there's a break on 26th. There's not a game or something. One of the days I was looking, I don't think there is a game.
There is a Boxing Day match.
There is a Boxing Day. I know they're playing Christmas Day, which is surprising to me, because obviously it's we've got a few days bank holiday here. Although if you live in London and the southeast, it's not going to be. I don't know if you probably heard the news.
Oh, yeah.
They've created a new tier for the London and southeast, because they found a new strain of COVID that's spreading much faster than they thought. So Christmas has been changed. We were initially given 5 days where we could meet up with families over 5 days, because it's bank holiday here. I finish work on Wednesday, so I've got Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday off. But then they cancelled it on Saturday, and you can't meet where I live. I can meet on Christmas Day with my family, and Christmas is huge, as you know, here.
Yeah.
But my son won't be able to come from London, and people's plans have just been thrown out of the window, which is a real shame, because it's a huge occasion, as you would think. Have you got some time coming off? Your Christmas going to be normal, or is it going to be different?
Of course, I think I've applied for a couple of days leave across Christmas, so like 24th and 26th, 27th, I'm not working, and I hope to not work. Not just apply for leave and still end up working. But it's okay. I think I've I don't know, marinated is a right word, but like I've sold a lot of dry fruits for a big this plum cake that I'm baking today. So
Well,
yeah, I'm going to like brush it with rum for like the next few days and get ready for Christmas. And
Fantastic.
a little bit of baking and activities like that. And we've already set up a tree, crib, and all that. So
Beautiful.
looking good.
I look
It's been a
forward to
while since I celebrated Christmas at home. Usually I'm always like in another city, so it's nice
yeah.
to be home.
Is it a national holiday in India, by the way? Christmas Day itself?
Yeah, Christmas Day
Oh,
is.
that's good. Because obviously it is here, and because of the change of plan, we bought the turkey last week, so we got big turkey. So if you're free on Christmas Day, although nobody wants to come to the UK at the moment, and they're telling people from the UK not to go anywhere, they're closing all the borders. But we're going to have plenty of turkey if you fancy joining us. If I don't speak to you before then, I want to wish you and your family, and obviously the Desi Sportscast family, a very Merry Christmas, and stay safe, my
Same to
friend.
you. It's been a crazy year, so let's celebrate Christmas at least and hope 2021 is going to be better.
Well, you say that we'd planned a big celebration, then Boris came on our TVs on Saturday night and said, no, you've got to change your plans. So it will be nice. It will be a reflection. It's been a...
We've got something lined up for 31st because mom's retiring.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, so she's been working with SBI for 36 years. So
Wow.
it's yeah.
That is proper
Yeah, so
public
it's another
service.
family reunion. I'm baking for them as well, so I've become a baker for the next week. I'm doing some cake and got some good wine as well, so hopefully it'll be fun.
It will be. Fantastic. Well, pass on my wishes to your mother. That's incredible public service for such a long time. Once again, have a brilliant Christmas, my friend. It's been an incredible. Obviously, we'll speak again soon, but you stay safe and all the best.
Thank you, and same to you. Bye.